we live in capitalistic hinterland state where it's logical that society that still speak different language than the official language, for example like hinterland in Bali, Kenya, etc. We believe by implementing this mother tongue language in education would improve basic education of a student in there that get left behind because of how the nature of hinterland who gets still left behind on developing country state in a country. So they are vulnerable in this kind of motion, and our side would care and protect about them for a better outcome for them so proud to propose. So what is our goals for this debate today? Two point. The first one is to have improved the development in learning curriculum for a majority student by easily even if high culture that get exposed from them like in hinterland state, for example like Kenya, Papua in or etc. for a bigger magnitude of impact of their development in understanding educational system as the official told them. And second one is to care about students who don't know official language in developing country to be able to catch up with the current national curriculum. And so what is our characteristic for this motion today? The first one is school that we divided in 2 points. That first one is school is arranged in a kindergarten, elementary school, that we believe those who are in senior or junior high school, the majority of it, even if it's in hinterland, already know their official language. For example, we take a look in the Bali, or for example the junior or the senior high schooler in there already know the Indonesian language, of course. And second one is school that far from the international word or term, just because the majority of people still uses their majority language, as I say, they are in hinterland, who the language is still spoken a different language than the official language. And second characterization about the language by the majority that we prefer as 3 points. The first one is their neighborhood still spoke their language, their family, etc. So these students were born to speak that language in their society as they speak about it. And the second one is people that are born in there spoke the language, which is high percentage in those kind of hinterland. And the third one is since it can only happen in the hinterland nowadays with this kind of modernization, since it can only happen in the hinterland. Hinterland is the area when the most of the time is left behind by the national curriculum in status quo, just by how the hard distribution of education going on in there, and their basic human resource is most of them are low. So what is our mechanism to deal this to be solved this to be realizing this kind of goal? As authority of this area, we would like to first recruit a teacher that can speak the majority language flawlessly, but also familiar with the national language as they are older and able to at least to be translate the educational from the official book to the current mother tongue language. And second one is not forgetting about the human resource of a teacher in this kind of hinterland to be able to translate the explanation gonna be hybrid, but learning to the majority of mother tongue language to the place where the student itself understand with their mother tongue language knowledge, but also learning the official state for the preparation of their senior or junior high school, so they have no problem in continuing those kind of education. And the third one is the curriculum will not change, but the books from the center state would be translated by the teacher as the part of education, but still we believe the explanation of the teacher is the most important in elementary or kindergarten, where there is no much book that they will learn on this kind of step of education. And so why this is effective? 3 points. The first one is student will not have any language shock in learning, this tragedy will result in the misunderstanding in learning of a student. We solve that, and it is important, especially in the vulnerable student in the hinterland, that we are not gonna let them left behind. And second one is, but also this will keep teacher in their area have a job and in a bigger percentage, but because of the how they have the language advantage in a big percentage. And the third one is even if they are students from abroad come to the hinterland for a certain importance, which is a little percentage compared to the majority, our hybrid explanation would at least make them understand and slowly adapt with the mother tongue language with easy grammar of those kind of step education for at least 3 to 13 years old of student. So moving on to our argument on why this is justified from the majority student perspective, that we exclusively characterized as 1 point that speak their mother tongue language in a hinterland, so it's logical. And what is justified? They will not left behind and not having any, because of not having any language barrier in education at the early age of state of education. So what is good then? 2 points. The first one is this hinterland area would definitely improve them in the basic human resource education knowledge for their student. As we know, the hinterland is left behind in developing countries, so we solve that. And the second one is student will at least have interest and not difficulty in learning, that will keep them in studying in, as hinterland have low percentage in education of its people, because there is language barrier that would not keep them in improving their educational degree. And so what is the logical step of this kind of motion? First one is by implementing this mechanism, student who will learn in elementary school or etc. will not have any difficulty in language, that will make them comfortable to stay within the graduation, within the school until the graduation till the end. Also ready for the next step with our mechanism of hybrid of explanation from the teacher. Even if the opposition would come up with what about the student from the abroad, what about they will live, what about they will live to the other state. Let's notice about the magnitude of impact here. The quantity of this abroad student is far little when we compare it to the majority of students, that maybe this abroad student maybe have exposed with technology different than this hinterland student that not have been exposed by the technology because of how the nature of hinterland. So they have alternative this kind of abroad student as they have the technology itself. And when we think about the majority student, they have no alternative and it's reversible. So we think we should importance this kind of hinterland student. But what if the hinterland student want to move abroad? We think that hinterland student will not move abroad as the most of them, because of how our mechanism is. This motion is debating about elementary school or kindergarten, who the most of it will not move abroad for a better education. And what is the impact? The first one is the distribution of education will be efficient and effective in the hinterland to catch up, different than the opposition, maybe with their complicated mechanism where maybe they will hire a translate teacher or even etc. That will make any bigger budget that it cannot realize for this kind of hinterland state that not having many budget as well. And second one is, as I say, teacher in this area would have been used to at least contribute in the decrease of the unemployment of this area. That is crucial, and this because of this teacher is sensitive with the local issue as they are just from the local itself, so they understand about the student problem for especially this elementary student, so they have to have the basic understanding of the student. And in the conclusion, by this kind of mechanism, we believe that this will be effective to the student, that the student are the vulnerable actor for this motion that we want to protect. And if we are able to prove to you that this our argument of using mother tongue would lean towards in the more and much development in the vulnerable actor as the center of this debate, we would win this debate. So proud to propose.